Why, hello there. Today is day 638 of watching Elden Ring trailers, and joining me today is a good friend of mine and a fellow Souls enthusiast and a one bro extraordinaire. That is Paddy Stardust. Thanks for coming on today, Paddy.
It is an absolute pleasure. I remember when you started this series and you sent me a message saying, "Hey, do you want to come on?" And I said yes, and then I immediately forgot about it because babies. So I'm
Yes.
very happy to we could sync up our schedules finally. I've been excited, very
Yeah.
excited. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and it's a miracle to even happen between the two of us with young kids because I had to start this late as a little behind the scenes because I had kid stuff happening and it's just you never know. And that is one of we have some differences in a few areas, but one area where we come together and is always a fun bit of discussion is we've both experienced some dad souls. Have you ever actually
Yep.
tried playing with Violet around, or do you just work around it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there was one very specific incident which he's actually captured on video while I've been working on the Bloodborne BL4 run.
Yeah.
We put her down for a nap, and we said, "Right, it's Ludwig. Let's do some more Ludwig." I think maybe 10 minutes in, she woke up from the nap, and she was out of sorts. And we were it was a half an hour episode. We'd done 10 minutes. Like, oh, we'll just keep going. She'll be fine. Just sit on your lap, give her some milk.
Yeah.
And 5 minutes in, she's up and she's walking around and she's walking over near the wires. And I'm like, "No, Dad, please, no. Daddy needs you not to touch. Don't touch. I can't. This is hard." So Laura was literally chasing the child around while I was trying to play the game and also beat Ludwig. Of all things, it wasn't even an easy bit. It was one of the most focused and concentrated I've had to be for any of these things.
Yeah.
And she just wandered around I'm just going to touch all these things. Please, no, no. So my Dad Souls experience is small, I would say, but intense.
Yeah.
Usually I wait till she's away. When
Yeah.
she's downstairs, normally it's just put her cartoons on. We'll play
Yeah.
with her with some blocks. I'll play my video games later.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. And she's usually pretty good about sleeping, so I don't have to do the thing that every picture I've seen of you with child, which is controller in one hand, child on the corner,
Yeah.
going through whatever new Souls game happened to come out when that child was born.
Yeah. Yeah.
So lucky for me, there's been no Souls game for a while.
Yeah, it's a very consistent experience for me. Is for Dark Souls 2, probably the most notably was when my oldest was born. And I was playing through that whole game, wearing her or holding her while I played. And I have a lot of memories of very tense boss fights with holding a kid. And then, my second kid came out. I have 3 kids, and my second kid came out during the Bloodborne DLC time. So I was playing Bloodborne during that time. And then my third kid came out around Dark Souls 1 remastered. And I have a lot of memories of getting back into that. At least I was familiar with that, and I was familiar with kids at that point. So I actually played just a ton because when they're infants, they're like potatoes. So which will be a theme, I guess.
Oh yeah, you feed one end and you clean the other, and you just put them in a box and say, "You're fine. You're over there. I'm going to clean this bit. I'm going to feed that bit," and then every now and again it goes, "Wow."
Exactly.
Fine.
Yeah, and just for listeners, just a heads up in case you're nervous at all about spoilers, we will be talking about the leaked trailer today. I thought of that because we mentioned the word potato, which makes me think of the quality of the video we'll be watching. But that will be the trailer for today, that'll be interesting. I'm curious because the first thing I'm curious about, just because we're on the topic of Dad Souls, is when you're trying with your experience when you're say Elden Ring actually comes out someday, and
so she's 12 at this point.
Yeah, she's 12. Did you when a Souls game would come out, did you go really hard on it, or did you take any time off of things, or did you just kind of work around your schedule? Have you tended to go really hard on releases, or have you been a little bit more laid back?
I can honestly say I have never ever taken a week off work for a game. Even stuff I was really interested. There were times when it lined up well. I remember taking I had a week off planned for ages, and I think Metal Gear 5 Phantom Pain happened to come out that week, and I managed to get my copy 3 days early as well. So I was like, well, it's me done for the week.
Yeah.
So that was not on purpose. But I think for Souls and things, I mean, even other things, I tend to get enough game time in the evenings regardless. I mean, not anymore because baby.
Yeah.
In the pre-baby times, I would find that I could just, go through at my own speed, take my time, enjoy it, soak it in. I mean, a couple of the games I've had before release, I had Dark Souls 2 for review about 2 weeks before it came out, and I managed to get Bloodborne as well from the press event got invited to, which was pretty bloody cool.
Yeah.
But again, the problem with that is that when you have the game 2 weeks early, which is really, really cool, there is not a wiki.
Nope.
So if you get stuck, work it out, idiot.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need to do? Work it out. You don't.
Yeah.
You just work it out. What does Insight do? I don't know. I'm trying to work out what this means. I'm getting attacked by something. I can't see where it is, and now I'm dead. What does frenzy mean?
Oh,
all of this, just unpicking things like that. All of these things, and it does mean that when I've had these games come out that I've managed to play without, anyone else around, like my own little adventure, like the very first half of Dark Souls 2 up to about Smelter Demon and Bloodborne up to about Rom, like those two chunks of those games, they feel a bit more like mine because I played them completely isolated from anyone else. Like no one else was playing them at the time. The websites hadn't gone mental like every website does now the second a game comes out, and they've got the ending credits. They're being discussed about the day after it comes out because that's just good content. Everyone clicks it. Well done, video game websites. But I like having those little secluded little things that were just for me.
Yeah.
They were just for me, and I played that. But yeah, as far as taking time off for them, I don't think I've ever done it on purpose. I think they've occasionally lined up, like I say. But I even now, for me now, taking time off for things means we're doing things with the child.
Mm-hmm.
Not in this, world we live in at the moment, because don't go anywhere because everything's closed. But once things are back to more normal, I time will be around her. I don't even have a PS5 yet.
Yeah.
And not really bothered about getting one for a while. I mean, this is the first gen, not to spiral off or anything, but I remember this being the first gen for ages where I wasn't generally that bothered about getting it straight away, even though Demon's Souls remake was coming out. I was like, that looks pretty good. But I mean, the cost of it, plus the fact we were all, furloughed and pandemic was up and down. We were in, we were out, we were back at work, we were back home, we were back at work, we were back on lockdown again. I just didn't really want to, and I'm glad because it seems like I would have gone mad trying to buy one. Because the stock is still a problem. Turns out Laura she was selling off a bunch of her old fabric and stuff because if I really, really wanted one, she was going to try and get me one. I was like, no, it's fine, it's cool. Just buy the baby something. I don't care. So I will get one eventually. But the thought of taking time off now just for games becomes so much of a harder sell because of the baby. Like a lot of the money and the time I spend is on her. So my game time in the evening is still okay. Yeah. But by the time you get there, it's like 8 o'clock, 7:30 sometimes when you finish tidying and cleaning. You're like, I guess I'll play an hour of Mordor and go to bed then. Yeah. And if Elden Ring comes out, it's probably going to take me a couple of months to get through. Yeah. If the things we're hearing are true and it's open world, because those games are always short, aren't they? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I totally know what you're talking about with since I would since I am you have a very level-headed, mature approach where you're like, okay, the game's come out, I got the kid. I'm still a little bit of even with 3 kids, I have a bit of a hype problem. I'm prone to hype, and I get excited about things.
Really?
Maybe.
Really? I could never tell.
And I am going to try and take a week off for this, but that week isn't 60 hours of Elden Ring. That week, if I even can take it off, because as you say, jobs and stuff, and if a project needs due, it's just how it is. And that week is me. I've already been working with my partner for a while. Okay, so I'll wake up in the morning and I'll play a bit. And then we'll hang out. It'll be like a vacation week for everyone where we have lunch, we hang out in the afternoon, I get back into it. But it's not like a week of me just going crazy. It's like a week of me just trying to get a little bit extra time. It's the same thing where I'll probably be playing it for a while because it's just hard to do, which is always a bit of a challenge as a content creator, I guess, is because, if you want to get out stuff, it's always about being quick. But I remember we were talking about this as people who upload things and I need more like parent content creators to change the pace a little bit, just because I can't always I can't, and I don't really want to keep up with the immediate posting. So I do things like this where I can sort of relax for a little bit, and it's relatively easy to do. But it's like, yeah, it is something where even trying to take like a week off though, that's just trying to get some extra time to enjoy the game. And as you said, my kids will be in college by the time Elden Ring comes out, most likely. So I won't have to worry. I'll probably be retired anyways. But so
yeah. Well, I mean, if this current like pandemic living arrangement has been anything to go by, yeah, a week off is going to mean nothing in terms of extra hours. I'm going to get maybe 6 hours extra for the week. Like I haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, in England here, we've been locked down since just before Christmas. Like, I haven't been to work since December the 20th, I think.
Yeah.
Have I played much more games? Not really. Played a bit. I've got through a few things, but like in terms of what I wanted to get through, like you set yourself a big list of how I can get through this, and this, and then you get to the end of the day, like, what did we do today? Oh, we just played Shapes with the baby.
Yeah.
And we just chased her up and down, and we took her out to the park, and she ran around in circles and fell over and banged her face again. Yeah. Because children are great at that, apparently. They're really good at just taking their face parts and just putting them near things that injure them. Like, she's really, really good at it. And usually the day before nursery school, which is great because we keep turning up with a new facial scar. Like, what happened this time? We're good parents, I promise. She's just like, just drawn to sharp edges. We are putting foam around everything.
Yeah.
And that's what I did with my week off. I put foam around everything.
Yeah.
Didn't play any Elden Ring. I foamed up the house.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, I'd love to be able to like take that kind of like that perfect week of just like leave me.
Yeah.
I'm going to my games room.
Yeah.
I have one job because that's what the Metal Gear week was for me. I think I managed to bung in about 40, 50 hours, which compared to how some people play isn't actually that much. But like for me, that was a lot. Like that was a lot. And I was sitting down and I banged through it and I had a really, really good time with it, you know. Sequestered extra time, but yeah, I think something like this time it's not going to happen that way. I'm almost certain and again, especially if it's open world, my god,
I know. And
depends what kind of open world it is though, doesn't it? I mean, because there's open worlds and then there's open worlds.
Like there's I consider Souls more of like a Metroidvania, and like Dark Souls 1, for instance, in its structure. It's a little bit more like Metroidvania to me, where it's like, it's more like multiple paths versus being open. You can sort of sequence break and stuff. But like an open world is like, it conjures the idea of just being out there and like kind of like grinding for stuff and just like a lot more open. And I don't actually play a ton of open world games anymore because like, as you're saying, like, my free time is a premium, and I like to sort of, for better or for worse, I like to feel like I've sort of accomplished something in that hour or two I might get. And I'm not too worried.
100%.
I'm not too worried with Elden Ring though, because as you said, like, I just don't think From will make an open world game in the way we're used to. And that's really interesting to like think about like how they're going to do it. But I still don't see them just being like, you know, cause you're not going to have, I can't imagine From Software being like, oh, here's my list of quests I have to do. And I have to go like kill X of this and X of that and talk to all the village people, because they just don't like have, that's not how they do their games. And, you know, from everything we've heard from Miyazaki.
The crestfallen man, he needs herbs. He needs 50 herbs. The crestfallen man needs herbs. It's the only way you can cheer up.
Go kill
it's you. Get me some herbs.
Go kill some pigs or something, But... So I'm curious too, because, you know, like, so have you, Elden Ring for me has been a couple years of like mostly watching things, but because I've just stuck my face right in it and like just been keeping eyes on it, like I'm pretty up to date with things, but I assume outside of like whatever like content creators you watch that might discuss Elden Ring, like have you followed it too closely, or is it like the one trailer came out years ago and then this recent leak?
That second one, yeah. Because I remember seeing the trailer come out and being like, "Ooh, yes, please," and then just kind of, you know, right, well, that will be later. I've watched it a couple of times, like, that's really cool. I'll come back to you later. And then later didn't really happen, did it? It kind of just was gone. And I think part of it was at the time I was maybe a little bit disillusioned with Souls at the time. Like,
Yeah.
not massively, but
Mhm.
I didn't like Dark Souls 3. We're not going to get into that
Yeah.
because there is enough of me talking about Dark Souls 3 on the internet in various places. I don't like it. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And I never got Sekiro
Mhm.
because it just didn't appeal to me. Looking at it,
Yeah.
it looked like it was more of what I didn't like about the direction they'd taken with Dark Souls 3, with enemies becoming stronger and more phases and tornadoes of limbs, and it was a lot more like speed, and I
Yeah.
kind of prefer my pace a little bit slower, a little bit
Yeah.
clunkier. Again, Dark Souls 2 is my favorite one.
Mhm.
There's a certain part of the internet that will make me want they'll press the button that makes me die if I say that. And I'm sorry, that part of the internet, but it is my favorite one. It's the one I have the most hours in, and that's the one I want to see emulated further going forward. So when something comes out that I see that emulates that sort of feeling, that gets my interest a bit more, And for example, I recently went through Ashen.
Mhm.
I don't want to speak about this a little bit, but let's segue into it right now.
Yeah.
Like, I went through Ashen because, again, I kind of had my eye on it for a while, but it came up in a sale for like £8. Like, oh yeah, go on then, I'll give that a go, because I tend to do very, very well on those big, dirty PlayStation indie sales. Like, I go through all the games that are a quid and just pick out like 10 of them, and then just have a good week going through tiny, weird, odd games.
Yeah.
I can recommend it. Give yourself a tenner. Don't buy a game that's all £1, like 150. You will have a time. So I remember going through, and I tried Ashen, and it gave me those Dark Souls 2 vibes, like, really quickly. With like the central town that improves as the game goes on. It's a bit more like buildings that come up as opposed to people turning up, but that happens as well. But it feels more like a home, and every time you come back, you're like, oh yes, I'm back. It's home. There's a new building. What's in that one? Let's go see. Who's this? What can I buy from you? Oh, potions. I'm not going to buy those. I just want to level up my weapon, but I'll come back to you later.
Yeah.
And the pace of it felt slower. It felt chunkier. I mean, there's no swords in Ashen. It's all maces and axes and hammers and things. Like, I like that. It felt different. It felt slower. It felt a little bit more measured. And I like that feeling. I got big Dark Souls 2 vibes off of it straight away. I mean, even with the healing items, there is a single-use one that gets used up and you use it, and then there's a flask, like Dark Souls 2. Yes. There's a big focus on co-op about having someone with you all the time. Kind of like Dark Souls 2 does it. I really enjoyed the way it feels. The combat felt like moving around. Felt it. Like, I enjoyed exploring, and I think as well, like the world design of it. Like, the way they actually put the world together, I really, really like the idea of how, like, when you get a 2D platformer and then they kind of put depth in it and they call it 2.5D.
Yeah.
This is like open 0.5 world.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of, the world is constructed like a snake, like a long, like, tube almost. Like, so you start at the top in your town and then you push down into sort of further and further and further, and you kind of unlock fast travel eventually, but you have to sort of walk back every time. So you're pushing further and further down to this long sort of snake-like world. And it's great because each chunk of it is like a big open field that you can just go, right, I'm going there, I'm going to go there, I'm going to see what that is. And there's always something around everywhere. Lots of environmental puzzles to solve. The jumping, good Lord, can you get ups in Ashen? You can get some sweet ups. Like, can I get over there? Yes, I can. Run, jump. That's a sick up. To the point where I was yelling at my wife, Laura, look at these sweet ups. And I got in trouble several times for yelling about how good my ups were. But the fact that you can just take these interesting, weird worlds that you come in and you start like at the top of the next chunk and you look over it and you're like, what is this zone? There's that over there, and there's this here, and there's this pyramid thing sticking up. Can I even get on top? Oh, there's an item, so I can get on top. How do I get on top? I don't know. We'll come back to that later. And it's kind of got those, like you say, those Metroidvania things where there's bits you can come back and then explore further with new abilities and new powers, and sort of there's a teleport you can unlock that breaks the whole first half of the game wide open. You can just start whizzing around like no one's business. It's clever. And that's what I want to see, in a way, Elden Ring's open world to be. I don't want to see these massive open fields like Red Dead Redemption. Let's use that as the example of what we don't want to see. I like Red Dead Redemption, but there's a lot of horse riding in that game where you just kind of go from here to there and you have a conversation and it takes 10 minutes. And then when you get to there, then the mission starts, and then you have to go over to that place and there's another 10 minutes. It's like, could we not have just started at point 2? Instead of making me walk all the way? Like, I don't want that. I don't want this to become a slog. to get around. And getting around in Ashen never felt like a slog. Like it always felt like I was exploring and having fun, and it never felt like everything was too far away. You could always reach it.
Yeah.
But like a bigger open world, the maps just feel so huge and so massive. You're like, well, world map size seems to become this new, like, oh, it's bigger. No, make it smaller, make it more dense, make it more focused. Yakuza, another good example of an open world that actually isn't that big, but is full of detail and is full of stuff to do. And I know it's not the same as a Souls game, but like it's full of little dense things, and there's little things you can pick up. And for someone like yourself who enjoys hunting of lore, like, think how much they could drip into that sort of environment. Think how much stuff you could find, how many little stories you could sort of secrete away in a smaller, sort of more compact zone. One more example I can think of, which a prime example that I've been playing this week. I picked up Shadow of War, the second Mordor game from Plus a while ago. And again, that game it's open, but it's broken down into these 6 like regions.
Yeah.
And there's a big castle on one end, and there's orcs around here, and there's orcs around there, and there's this to climb and that to climb, and this little zone and that little zone, and you can go and do stuff all around the zones. And it's so cool because like it enables each zone to have its own unique flavor, but without seeing this gigantic map that, well, how am I going to go over there? And like you said in one of your earlier videos I was watching about the horse or the ram, I think you've noticed it's more of a sheep ram deer type thing.
Yeah.
If the horse is going to be involved, that's great. And I think fast travel needs to be curtailed to make the horse make sense. If you can just fast travel, why would you take the horse?
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. It's the same problem Saints Row had when they include superpowers, because the game's always been, you customize your car and you drive around your car. As soon as you get superpowers, the car stuff, you don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I can just fly. I can just jump now. Yeah. Why do I need these cars that have this whole great system involved where I can customize them, tune them? Like, I can just jump. It's way faster just to run. In fact, the running is faster than the cars when you get your super speed. It's like, well, why? Like, I need it to... The horse... Let's keep calling it a horse because it's going to hurt if I don't call it horse.
Yeah.
The horse stuff needs to make sense within the world. I think it needs to make sense within the scale of the world. And I don't want to see Red Dead 10-minute horse rides with nothing really happening. And if it's going to be 10-minute horse rides with, Soul's level of it's hard, that's going to be a bad time, surely.
Yeah, it's a lot of good points there, because it's like, it is that thing where I also enjoyed Ashen quite a bit. And it doesn't really get discussed when people are talking about like, oh, open world Souls. Like, I'm like, well, we've kind of seen a version of it with Ashen. It literally is like open world and some dungeons, which is literally what Miyazaki kind of described it as. And you bring up good points about like, how open is this? Is it a whole bunch of regions? Like you mentioned like Shadow of War, or like even like Witcher 3 vibes, where it's like an open world, but open world games have started finding ways to get more granular and sort of make it open, but make it open in these chunks that you can kind of work away at, instead of just like a sandbox like Skyrim, which is like what you're saying is like, it is an interesting tension. And I completely agree, is like, when you think of Souls, it is a very dense experience. All of the games, no matter which one you're talking about, because they're these dense corridors. And so then you're like, oh, let's add a horse. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, if I'm on foot, it's one experience. And if I'm on a horse, totally different. And what's the density look like there? Like, what are you doing in the world to justify the existence of the horse and to still give a density of experience that works for Souls games? Because I just don't think From is going to engage in a lot of tropes. I do think I could foresee Elden Ring having like camps, like more like Breath of the Wild style, like camps of enemies, and you go up and beat them up however you want. And that could be really interesting, or like Ghost of Tsushima. But like, yeah, it will be really interesting to see how they work that with like fast travel and stuff. Because we've also heard about like there's like in the leaked trailer, even there's like some underground looking shots, and the rumor around those is that's supposed to be another system to get around the world, potentially, as like shortcuts through the world. And
Oh, okay.
I don't know how these systems interact with each other because like what if you do have fast travel from the start, a horse and underground stuff? Like I just don't know how those would work. So the first thing I'm thinking is, well, if you have a horse and underground stuff, you don't need fast travel from the start. And I'm not quite sure
Oh,
where that lands. Like I've heard mixed things about what that will be like, and I don't know that we've heard anything definitive mentioned by any insiders or anyone. And it's yeah, it's super interesting. Like just Ashen is a good example of like another thing I liked about that, and I think it's a thing where like the horse probably means this doesn't happen, but I did like that Ashen was like an open world game in sort of the microcosm where you're saying it's the regions, but they're all kind of open. But then
hmm.
I like those abilities you get, as you mentioned. Like it feels so good to throw that spear. Like once you get like that
Yep.
crazy teleport spear and stuff, like that added such a nice way to like justify revisiting spaces throughout the game, just so that you could
I
try out the spear.
cackled the first time I did that. I did poof, and then poof, like, what?
Yeah.
Oh no, this changes
It's
everything.
it's such a crazy moment that only has been maybe matched for me in Hollow Knight when you get that like crazy like super launch ability where you just keep flying
Oh,
in. Like the first time I did that in Hollow Knight too, I was same thing. I was just like laughing because you're so restrained for so much of that game, and then all of a sudden you have the ability to like explode in one direction as far as you can, and it just changes the whole way you perceive spaces. It's just
it opens up so many more like ways you can like
yeah,
explore, and so many
yeah,
again ways of how to get some sweet ups.
yeah.
Like, give me souls ups.
Yeah.
Although I will say, from the bits of the trailer I've seen, that the second chunk,
Hmm.
there was some very platformy looking bits in that. The leaping
Hmm.
across the battlements.
Yeah.
That awoke something. That awoke Lost
Yeah.
Bastille top
Yeah.
level for me. That awoke. That was like,
Hmm.
ooh,
Yeah. That looks
I like that
nice.
stuff.
Yeah, and I try to bring a variety of like viewpoints on for guests, and I think of anyone, you're the biggest Dark Souls 2 fan of anyone I've had on probably, and so I am curious to get that viewpoint because people will say like about the leak like it looks like Dark Souls 2, and I can't tell if they're being derogatory or if they're being just like factual because
Oh,
you
I can tell you, they are being derogatory because people always are about Dark Souls 2. Stop being mean.
yeah,
He tried.
but there's like there's I Dark Souls 2 is probably my least favorite of the Souls games, but I'm playing it right now for instance, and I'm having a great time and I have so many good memories, and it's like I think I see Dark Souls 2 a bit in Elden Ring, which gets me a bit excited because I really want to see Yui Tanamura do his thing, and I see brighter colors. And I was just curious from what you've seen, did you are you excited for Elden Ring? Or are you a little bit nervous because like Yui Tanamura also worked? He was co-director of Dark Souls 3, so there's not this like I mean
Hmm.
he's this responsible
Golden Halo of success.
like he had the reins in Dark Souls 2, and then he was co-director with Miyazaki in Dark Souls 3, and I don't exactly know
Hmm.
what happened there, but like it's it does sound like is Elden Ring from what you've seen from the leak trailers and the announcement, is it stirring some of that? Are you liking so far from like someone who sort of wants some of those elements back? Like I think it looks more RPG heavy from everything we've heard too. So like is that
Yeah.
all on board, or how worried are you about like this being too Dark Souls 3 if that's not your like pace of combat?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've like from what I've seen visually of it so far, and again the leaked trailer stuff that flipped up, it's like, I mean, even my wife Flora was sat next to me, and she looked at it and she went, "Well, that's a Dark Souls, isn't it?"
Yeah.
Um, and like it does look visually to me very Dark Souls 3 in terms of visuals, but yeah, that was when they started getting a bit more crystal clear, and that's just how the medieval stuff looks in high def. It looks like that, and again, a lot of the armor designs like
Yeah.
very evocative. There's the mage, I think, about halfway through with the
Oh,
blue armor. I just thought, well, that's just a pretty elite knight.
yeah.
Like, I thought it was. I had to go back. Like, hang on, was that an elite knight? The helmet didn't look right, and it's
Yeah.
not, but it's close. And even like the mage that drops the magic, the homing soul mass is like,
Yeah.
well, that's a Dark Souls spell.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not generally. I'd tell you when I will be worried. I'm not worried yet because everything is still vague. We don't know
Mm,
enough yet. And I don't like to make judgments before I know things. I like to give things a chance. In everything, we've been watching lots of odd anime at the moment, giving it a couple of episodes, and if it's crap, then we just delete it from the list and move on to something else. So we'll always try something. I try not to have too many sort of preconceptions, but from looking at what I've seen so far, hopefully it looks like it's not leaning too hard towards the tornado boss, which is something I don't enjoy. I don't enjoy those big monstrous things that conk you in like one hit and you're, oh, well, okay. I've been watching some streamers playing Dark Souls 3 recently doing Midir. I know it's an extreme example, but like that's hard, man. Like that's really hard. Like that's too hard. I wanted to see them just dial it back a bit and make it a bit more, I don't know, patient, a bit more explory. Oh no, I'm going to contradict myself terribly here because I just thought of how the open world would work. Like Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah.
You've got like temples and areas to go and see, and you take the horse to the area. So there is 10 minutes of horse, but you're going somewhere specific and you can see it in the distance and it's getting oh no, I've just made myself a hypocrite. Oh, because I think that would be rad. Oh no. But okay, until I see actual combat that's like gameplay, like because there's the shots we've seen inside of the guy creeping around, like there was a sneaky. Ooh, give me a piece of the sneaky, please, sir. Ooh, I'll have a slice of that cake, please. Nom 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 nom. And like the way it seems to be mixing in, like you say, there's the classes and there's the stat improvement, like all the games, like you pick your class and you level up. I am excited to see actual gameplay. I think it sounds mad, but like I think the first time I see like it playing with a HUD and enemies and combat, I think I'll be able to get a good feel for like what of the Souls it's going to evoke, because you can look at video of Dark Souls 3 and go, well, that's definitely a Dark Souls 3 combat. You can see the differences between them and you can see what they're evoking. And see, for me, that's kind of what put me off Sekiro, because when I saw the trailers of what the speed of it and like the parriness of it, it just didn't do much for me. It didn't really do anything for me. It should have, but it didn't. What I want to see, I want to see a big shield. I want to see a nice, big, slow, tanky boy with actual poise. I don't care. I'm just wishing things now. But I want to see like build variety. Like the Dark Souls 2 build variety is a huge thing I want to see. Like, I want to see weird, mental, crazy things you can do. Like, we're gonna make let's make a faith build that's also strong. Yeah. That's fine. Let's make a dex build that can do magic as well. Yeah, that's fine. Let's make a build entirely focused on chameleon. Yeah, that's probably all right. We could do that. Like, I love seeing that ability to mix things around. And like, again, I know they've had it in most of the games since, but the ability to reallocate your stats. If you think, actually, let's try this out. I think that's one of the few things Bloodborne was missing, was a way to sort of respec yourself without starting again, because you pick a weapon and you're like, well, I can't use this, can I? Like, I haven't got any Titanite for a start or Bloodstone chunks, and then by the time I've got them, I've nearly finished. Like, anytime you pick up a weapon near the end of the game, you're like, well, what's the point of this? I've already leveled up this sword. I'm not going to level up that sword. Like, I've already got this sword. Like, I have this fine. Like, let me respec or...
that
I don't know, maybe like, in a way, you want the stats to be where it all comes from. Like, in a way, I kind of want weapon upgrading to be kind of gone. Maybe you could amend them, you could add properties to them, but I think actually just making a weapon like +1, +2, +3, +4 in the later games, when the actual item upgrades are scarce, it just adds this whole extra layer of, I've now got to go and farm chunks for 4 hours because I want to use this cool axe I found that I didn't know about, and I found it and it's cool and it's exactly what I want, but it's doing no damage. So I need to go and do something that's not fun until the game is fun again.
That's a thing I actually wanted to bring up, because you've been playing a lot of Bloodborne. You've been doing your BL4 series, and
my current BL4 hours is longer than my original run of the game.
And in Bloodborne, that they use the gem slots basically on weapons to sort of give you a way to do that. Would you like to see something maybe like that in Elden Ring, where it's like in Bloodborne, the balance tends to be, it's a little bit easier to get upgrade materials, but you sort of keep a permanent progression from the sense that you can slot in these gems. And I think that could address sort of what you're talking about, where it would be nice to get easier experimentation. And if your character can progress by just having these, like, whatever version of that, like to add like poison to a weapon, but you're not like committing to it as much as you're just like putting it on the weapon. And then if you don't like the weapon, you just take it off and you do something else. I think that could be
You're slotting
Like,
materia, you're slotting
yeah,
gems, like that's it. You're putting rings on the handle of the sword, whatever you want to
yeah,
do.
yeah, exactly. That could be a good way. Would you like to see something like that in blood or from Bloodborne make its way into Elden Ring, or is that
Definitely, yeah.
yeah,
I'd like this permanent progression where you find a thing and then it's useful
mhm,
forever, or until you supersede it. But like you find a thing and you can then just like the same problem, you can just take it out of there and put
yeah,
it into there. I think we've seen it in a way with since Bloodborne, where you
mhm,
couldn't upgrade armor anymore. Because
yeah,
1 and 2 have armor upgrading, and then they got away with that for Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3. So you could just put on the stuff you wanted to wear, that you could just
yeah,
chop and change, and not think this one
yeah,
isn't quite as optimal as I like it to be. Like I want to get that and I want to get that, and I think that was brilliant. And if
mhm,
they can extend that out to weaponry as well, so you find a sword, that's a pretty good sword, but level up your strength and you'll be better at it.
yeah,
And you can slot, like you say, slot in extra bleeding damage, or this is my lightning gem, or this
yeah,
is my. I want to say bleeding again because my brain has fallen out because it is 10:20 past 10 and my brain has stopped working. I want to see, yeah, more experimentation, more build variety. I think is beautiful. I love it when they let you do things. Here's another wish list item. While we're on the topic of weaponry, let's really go for it. Let's let's just reduce that number of available weapons down a bit, shall we? Let's just cut it down by about a third or a half, maybe. Because the one thing that really that sticks out for me in Dark Souls 3 and I suppose Dark Souls 2 as well, if I'm
mhm,
being entirely fair, there's a lot of pig stickers. There's
yeah,
a lot of swords. Just the swords particularly. There's
yeah,
a lot of swords, and a lot of them are very, very similar. Like pare it down to this is where Bloodborne I think got it spot on.
yeah,
There are, I think, in the base game there's 16 weapons, and they are different.
yeah,
Every single one has its own thing it's good at, and its own moves, and its own thing. And then the DLC added another, I think, 8, and every single one of those is different as well, and it's unique, and it's got its own properties. And the fact that you could transform them means it could be useful from this to this. I think with Elden Ring, what I've seen in the video, I don't think we're going to see weapon transforming again.
no,
That's fine,
yeah,
but if there is a scimitar like the one in the start of the gameplay bit where he's got the big curved sword, let's just have like 2 or 3 scimitars, like 1 or 2 normal ones and a couple of special boss ones, and that's it. We don't need 10 scimitars,
yeah,
just a couple, like 2 straight swords, straight sword and a slightly longer straight sword, like, and then the variety would come with what you decided to plug into that weapon.
mhm,
So they get the movesets tight, they get the movesets perfect. Because again, Bloodborne is king in this regard.
mhm,
Every single weapon's moveset is unique and it has options, and it's like you can use everything viably. There's nothing that doesn't work
yeah.
except the Fist of Gratia. That's terrible. I tried it and it's awful.
Yeah, I haven't gotten too far with the fist, but
I'm going to use up a third of my stamina to not do much damage and sometimes do a stagger. It's
yeah,
just hit them with your cleaver. It's much faster. So yeah, I don't think Bloodborne, it rarely misses with a weapon move set, and I'd love to see
yeah,
that
yeah. Well,
focus. I know by going open world, we're saying the focus we're now spreading wide,
mhm,
but I think with the world focus being wide, I think the gear could then be focused back down a bit, because you're not focused on, I've got to find a new sword, I've got to find a new this, I've got to find a new that. You focus on, well, where can I go next? What can I
mhm,
do with the stuff I have? I'm going to go over there. I'm going to find 1 or 2 things, but I'm not going to find
mhm.
a cupboard of swords. Like the meme that goes around of coming home twisted with a load of swords and then
Yeah,
waking up the next with a room full of swords.
yeah,
That's not what I want when I go into a dungeon in Elden Ring or I
yeah,
go to a new area. I don't want to come back loaded down with metal.
yeah,
Like I want to come down with a couple of meaningful, interesting things
yeah,
that maybe change how we, like in Ashen, when you
mhm,
get the spear, it opens up something new. It opens up a new verb, a new thing we can do, a new thing the horse can do, perhaps,
yeah,
a new spell that will help you open certain doors or solve puzzles. Like put puzzles in it. Put puzzles in a Souls game. Go on, do a puzzle. I
yeah,
could do a puzzle. I love open puzzles, like that sort of God
yeah,
of War story of there's big action games where you're pushing massive blocks around. Like, give me a puzzle. I
yeah,
haven't done a big puzzle game like that in ages.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Do you think your horse will do a dodge roll? You could upgrade your horse to roll, and you could get some iframes
oh,
on your horse.
oh, yeah. And you can press L1 and it transforms into a dolphin.
So I
Oh no! Oh, that horse gets double jump, guaranteed.
yeah, the horse gets double jump and like an air dash.
Yeah. You
Uh,
feed it the oats of a dead soldier, and it learns how to it learns how to dash cancel.
yeah. So I have two bits of information or three bits of information. Two will make you, I think, more sad than happy, and one will make you happy. So
Okay, all
in
right. I'm used to sadness.
in the first interview, Miyazaki pretty much indicated that there would be more weapons, spells, and armors than ever before. Which there you go. And the next then the next point that may make you sad or not is that um, in an interview about the Dark Souls 3 DLC, he talked specifically about how the increased combat speed of Dark Souls 3 allowed them to make better AI because they could do like the pack of wolves sort of harassing you and forming up in a group. And with Elden Ring, a big thing that's been mentioned is that the AI will be much more clever and they'll try to do things like set up traps, roam around, and patrol, which lends a point towards it probably having a faster combat speed than slower combat speed. But then overriding potentially all of this is also the fact that we've
Mm.
heard this will probably be the most RPG heavy game they've made, even beyond the Souls series. And in that sense, I think there's some hope for even if those 2 points are something that may be somewhat, off putting, is that I'm with
Mm.
you in the sense that my issues, and for the record, like I'm a Midir defender, I'm not a defender of Midir's health and the fact that it one shots you. I think it's a fun fight that I have to do the same things a little bit too long, and there's too high of a penalty for getting it wrong. But, so for
I
Elden,
think I agree. Yeah, like by that point, I get it. Like I've
yeah,
done it. Can I be finished now? No. Oh,
yeah,
I'm dead. Oh, okay, cool. Another 10 minutes of my life gone. Like you get like
exactly,
yeah, the health bars, extended health bars are just like
yeah,
halfway through. You're like, okay, I get it. I get
yeah,
it. Oh, are we finished? I get it. I've done it. Can I not be? Oh. Or
yeah,
every new phase when the boss stands up again, you're like, oh, come
yeah,
on, you were done.
yeah, and
No,
I think
those
that,
points do hearten me a bit.
yeah,
Although
it,
if they say that if there's more weapons and spells, but you don't have to upgrade them,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
all right, I'll
yeah,
let you have that. I'll give you that in balance. I'll allow
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think that the RPG, depending on how hard they go on RPGs, like it's a push and a pull because we're talking on the one hand about we want it to be easier to experiment. But what if the RPG elements meant that like classes were more of a thing? Like your starting class actually played into it, or if there was like even like class related abilities that you wouldn't be able to necessarily get. Would that be an appealing direction if that's how they went with the heavier RPG? Is do a little bit less. It's sort of the opposite of experimentation, but it is building
Mm,
in a bigger depth and potentially giving more ways to play the game. Because I think one thing that we're both sort of circling around is like, I don't think either one of us wanted the game to get harder. Like Dark Souls 3 for both of us, I think represented like excess. And I know that that was the thing with Sekiro is it's faster and harder, more
mm,
punishing, and it just is reaching a point that's not not into it. But what they if these
mm,
RPG elements give a wider variety of approaches, and it's not so much like the one thing I'll say for Sekiro is that it's really it has a higher skill floor. Like it's rough in the beginning and it's hard to get used to. But the replays of it feel
mm,
relatively easy to me. And I think the thing is that Sekiro tested new things with the deflex system, and it is faster for sure. It's a lot faster, but I think it's something that they struggled with in Dark Souls 3, for instance, where an increasingly good player base, they had to figure out ways to make the bosses still challenging, to be interesting to their fans and to people playing the game who have gotten used
mm.
to like going around back, stabbing them in the butt. So they started working around that even as early as Dark Souls 2. They had to add new ways. So my sort of thought is it seems like they kept adding to making the enemies have to work around what the players knew how to do. But my thought is with Elden Ring, something that I think would make some of those concerns about the speed of combat go away is if it's not so much about the enemies getting increasingly wild, which I'm fine with like wolf AI. That's a little bit different. I think that's kind of cool to make them feel more
Mm.
like intelligent, but you need more verbs. Like you need something new to provide a new challenge, not just an increased challenge, would like,
Can I sneak? Can I sneak now,
yeah,
for instance, in the trailer? Can I
yeah,
do that? Can I move
yeah,
around? Can I become invisible? Like,
yeah,
can I? What ways do I have of dealing with as opposed to flail around with sword and get swarmed,
yeah,
like you say? Like, yeah, I think it does need verbs
yeah.
in it to make it make more sense as an open world game. To touch on the classes point, I think that's quite interesting. I would like to see them still have the ability to, if you are a sorcerer, but you decide, actually, I've picked up a very cool sword, I do
Mhm.
want to use that, let me do that. I think locking stuff down to like no, like locking abilities off to certain classes, I don't think I like,
Yeah.
because all it means is I've then got to play the game. How many classes are there? Let's say 8. That means I've got to play 8 times.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's
an
open
open
world.
world.
So
Yeah.
who has It's take me years. I have enough to do. Come on. Some of us have real lives. But yeah, I think to touch back on what you were saying about the difficulty, like I think that From's biggest misstep that they've ever made, I think at this point, is by catering to those hardcore PvP focused extreme challenge run. And I say this with utmost hypocrisy, because I have a whole YouTube channel where I put myself through this nonsense. But like, I always think that the sanctity of like a Souls game is that I could say this about Demon Souls, I can say this about Dark Souls, and I can say this about Dark Souls 2. Any person can beat those 3 games. Those games are doable. They are not hard, they are challenging. You
Mhm.
focus, you pay attention, you learn what you're doing. Any person alive can do those games. Guaranteed. I could talk anybody, or they could do it themselves. I could talk anyone through one of those games, no problem. Hell, Demon Souls, I could talk someone through a Soul Level 1 run for their very first run. I
Yeah.
could do that. And if anyone wants to have a go, I'll give it a go. Like, I could talk you through a Soul Level 1 run of that game, because that game is broken.
Yeah.
But when we start getting to Bloodborne and to Dark Souls 3 and to Sekiro, do I think any random gamer can beat those? No, I
Yeah.
don't think I do. I think Bloodborne is where the turn started to get, where I think From started to understand that, like you say, they started to aim more at those people that were playing like, oh, it's hard, it's hard, it's hard.
Mhm.
Whereas for me, it was always like, it's challenging and there's this really cool world to explore. And yeah, it's hard at times, but like the reward for doing it is like, oh, I found this cool thing and that cool thing. Whereas now the cool thing you unlock is another boss fight phase,
Yeah.
or another horrible area of enemies that now one-shot you, like not to rag on it too much, but the Dark Souls 3 Ring City DLC, despise that DLC because
Mhm.
it actively doesn't want you to play it. The best way to get through it is to ignore everything and just run, and just ignore all the enemies and just run like hell for the
Yeah.
next checkpoint. Because if you engage with every enemy, by the time you get through the zone, you're gonna have no Estus left. You're gonna be screwed.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a boss gauntlet is how I basically play the Ring City, is running boss to boss and trying not to stop in between.
yeah, and that is like so anti the way I like to play these games. I like to
Yeah.
take my time and poke the zones out and learn
Mhm.
around them. Like, that Ashen, very good example. There's a dungeon about halfway through that where it's like this big, dark, like almost Destiny-like cave, like the Vault of Glass from Destiny, where you're kind of descending deeper and deeper and deeper in this weird old city that was clearly not made for someone that was your size.
Mhm.
And like the atmosphere of creeping around and taking your time and like picking out little, like, oh, I can get there. Can I get there? Can I get there? Oh God, the skeletons. Like the panic as you go down, that was brilliant. And I
Mhm.
don't get that in the harder Souls games. All I get is the panic of, Christ, there's going to be another tornado around this
Mhm.
corner and I'm going to die and I have to do this all again. It's not that I was worried that, what was going around the corner, is that I knew what was around the corner was going to be a tornado, as opposed to an interesting design of enemies that I could work my way through if I took my time. Like, I like to be able to plan. I don't like to
Mhm.
react. I like to plan. I like to look ahead of time. Yeah, of course, there's going to be some jump outs. There always are, because they're funny. But like, the whole game shouldn't just be panic. Like, there
Yeah.
should be some level of take a more measured approach, a slower
Mhm.
approach.
Yeah.
A shielded approach almost. I
Yeah.
think a lot of design now, a lot of times you watch, I watch a few YouTubers here and there, and a lot of them, they don't bother with shields, they don't bother with armor, they just rip, 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 chop, 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 big weapon, big strong, and it's like, it's not how a normal person plays. Like, a
Yeah.
normal person on their very first run is going to armor up, they're going to shield up, they're going to take their sweet time.
Mhm.
I think the Get Good Brigade have really pushed the direction away from what I probably first connected with.
Yeah.
It's not there anymore. And what I hope with Elden Ring is that it comes back a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
it almost takes, again, a Dark Souls 2 approach in trying something different,
Mhm.
but of the same level of challenge, maybe, I suppose is what I'm thinking. Like, and save the hard stuff for your New Game Plus or your New Game Plus 7, level 1 run. Save that for those people.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Let the game be possible. Let the game be achievable by a human, and don't lean into, oh, this game's so hard. It's hard like the spicy chicken of the hard spicy chicken place.
Yeah.
No, come on. Like, let me enjoy a world. Let me unpick it again. And don't make the lore horrific. Don't make me angry at the lore. And I know you and I have had several discussions about lore in the past.
Yeah.
We probably fall on different sides of this fence, I know.
Well, it's a whole new world, which is good for me too, because like I think, like as far as lore goes, that's like you have a whole new world to pick apart, and depending on how obscure they make it, part of the thing with Dark Souls 3, for instance, was I just think they had a bit of a mess with developing a story. But then, I could say like I take the shot even against Dark Souls 2 is like I don't know if From excels at like, how am I gonna say this? Dark Souls 1 wasn't really designed to have sequels, like from a story perspective. The whole
100%.
point was that it's cycles.
Yep, 100%.
And like if they could build that into Elden Ring, if they have sequels in mind, like that's something I would prefer, not like a weird cliffhanger, but they need to give themselves some space to breathe. And Dark Souls 2 took a nice approach to sort of sidestep it. Dark Souls 3, I think it just had so much to work with, and I don't think they knew how to make it interesting versus complicated rabbit holes that didn't really feel like they went anywhere. But with Elden Ring, you have an author making the mythology, so they at least have like a source book to play with, and they have this nice contained thing where they had someone else think through some of the things that I don't know that I think they work on a conceptual level, and they get the details sort of hammered out, and they're very creative. But like, obviously, like George R. R. Martin, like has more experience doing that, and like he can provide them this really nice thing to work with, and then From can do their thing where they rip out half the pages and give us an interesting new world to get into. So I think there's hope there for you and your End Lore 2020, I think it was. And to your point about
I think it was 2018 at the
maybe.
point where I started doing End Lore, and it's progressed every single year. And it's always been, let me append, it's always been End Lore 2020, except you. Like, everyone else can go. You can stay. But I think, I agree. I think From have always excelled when they've had like a single game plot story experience. And again, I love Dark Souls 2, but the ties it makes the original kind of are a bit odd. Like, they don't make, like, Ornstein, or fake Ornstein, or as I call him, real Ornstein. Let's not get into that.
It doesn't work
like that
for
was
you.
Odd, and it's like I like it and I don't like it, but it's odd and it's little, but it doesn't kind of, it's doing its own story, its own thing. I think they've always excelled when the story has been its own thing. Dark Souls 1 story was good. Demon Souls story was really good. Bloodborne was the next massive hit that I think in terms of like plot, because like that game makes sense, has a beginning and an end, and you haven't got to like pick apart the story. I think the problem with say Dark Souls 3 is that you're, rather than say taking your book and ripping out the pages, they were ripping out the book, 4 different books, jumbling them in a box, throwing half the bits away, and they go, there you go.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Enjoy.
Learn about the Angels of Londor.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
And the part that Hollow Knight is another great example of this, because I played through Hollow Knight and I got to the end of Hollow Knight and I thought, what was that about? So I looked at a lore video. I did not draw a single connection with anything in this video compared to what I actually played in the game. I was like, when did they tell you any of this? Where was this information? Like, was I just not paying attention? And it's all very like, and this was the king, and he made this and did that and did that and did that. Like, I don't know any of this. I think only maybe 10% of that whole video. And I was like, did I just not read anything? Did I miss stuff? Like, I don't think that plot should be hidden. I think you should be able to let people pick it out. Like I think Dark Souls 1, I think Bloodborne get this right, where you can pick things apart and you can draw conclusions, but it's not. It's not like a 1,000-piece puzzle. It's a 100-piece puzzle.
That's a really good point.
Puzzle.
Yeah,
and you've got the picture on the box to work with. Here's a great. Okay, so I used to watch the Super Best Friends Play YouTube series a lot, And in their run of Dark Souls 3, one of them says, "So at this point, there are 4 different ways you can turn into a dragon. There's 3 different ways you can become a big tree. How does that even stick together anymore? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, consistency, I think, is important. And I think with Elden Ring, they've got a chance to make a fresh break with George R. R. Martin, a fresh lore guy, to make it all fit together and make sense. And then I don't want to feel like it gets into the game and I don't know what happened. Like, I want to feel like it gets into the game and like, I know what happened in this video game. I don't have to go to YouTube to find out the actual plot. Like, I can perceive enough of it that I feel like I knew what was going on. And yeah, I'd love there to be hidden stuff around and little stories here and stories there, but it shouldn't be the hard bit of the game shouldn't be working out the plot. It should be the game.
I totally agree. And I think like a lot of things in Souls, there can be a little bit of like, there's like a version of like Get Good, but for like lore, where people like sort of, I think, gatekeep the idea of the
Get Red.
Get Red. Like, and I agree with you that like Bloodborne is so evocative, but the plot is confusing in one sense, but it's also in another sense straightforward, and it's telling a smaller story, and it's not deviating in ways where you don't know what's happening. Like, there's not like 4 different ways to turn into a dragon and you don't know why. It's got all these crazy things that, like, because of the genre, are kind of unanswerable, but there is this core where you understand who the players are in the world, and the fun is teasing out the details, but you're not confused about who the players are. You're not confused about, like, on a basic level, what's happening. You still kind of know.
Why did I do this?
Yeah. Because there's a difference, like, you know, like, I think you're touching on, like, there's a balance between narrative and lore. Obviously, narrative is what's happening in the game, and lore is what's going on there. And I think as the games progress, like Dark Souls 1, you don't need to know any of the lore to basically understand the narrative. I do feel like by the time you get to Dark Souls 3, you can't understand the narrative unless you kind of know the lore. It's, you know, like,
it hurts me that people go and play that one first. It's like, no, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't make any sense anyway, but it makes less sense with context. Like, it's just a lot. So many people I know that have started with Dark Souls 3 of all of them, or have skipped 2 completely, and you're like, stop listening to the internet. Like, just play it. It's good. I promise you, it's all right. There's some good stuff in there. Like, there's some good stories happening, and you can follow them through and see the end of the stories. Okay, all right. Here's the bombshell. Here's the Dark Souls 3 Infinite Slam. Right? If there are NPCs in Elden Ring that have quest lines, let's make them achievable, shall we? Let's make it so you can finish a playthrough and not miss every single quest line. Completely by accident because you stepped through an area first. Like, let's make them possible.
I have to agree. I think we all love some of the opacity and jankiness of from games, but I don't think the annoying NPC quest has ever been like a selling point for anyone. I think it's like, follow it, put due diligence, but I like when the game rewards me for engaging with the game and thinking about it, not for me trying to tiptoe around this complicated set of flags in the code. And if I accidentally do something weird that doesn't feel related, then I lose a quest line. I don't like that feeling, and that doesn't feel good. And I wanted to hop back to something you were mentioning about the open world, which I'm not trying to sell you on Elden Ring. I don't know Elden Ring either, but I think one very positive thing that I'm excited about, because I'm with you, like, I like to creep around these games and look at vistas and just, it's kind of meditative. And then you engage in the combat, but you are creeping around. And with it being an open world, it kind of feels like it has to give you moments of respite, riding on your horse. And now, as we said, there's a careful play with how much of that, but it feels like it has to kind of let you in the open world engage with it somewhat on its own on your own terms, because you're not approaching an enemy from the one way From Software decided you can get to that enemy. It's now you can approach them from so many different angles, and they have to let go some of that control, which does give the player then more ability to, like, if you just want to chill, maybe you can chill more easily in Elden Ring and just enjoy the world. And then if you want to get into combat, you engage with that. And I think even if they make the combat harder, it's not something like the Ringed City where it's like, man, this city is gorgeous. Like it looks architecturally super cool, but I can't enjoy it because I
Mm,
have these fucking archers and they're trying to just fill me up and it's not fun because I'm sprinting constantly and the game is telling me hurry up through all of its gameplay mechanics. The angels, the summoned
mm,
archers, that horrible staircase, like the dragon, like it's all run, run, run. And I think in Elden Ring,
mm.
almost by necessity of an open world, they have to give those moments. Now, what happens in like the dungeons, I don't know. That like that, but even if it's more intense in the dungeons, it's not all the time. So you're really kind of opting into when you want to do that. And the other thing I was
Gearing up for an adventure, like
yeah,
like you say, right, I'm going to go and do this now. I'm going to get myself ready. I'm not having it thrust
yeah,
upon me. It's almost Dragon's Dogma. Like I'm going on an
mhm,
expedition. I'm going over here, and
yeah,
when I'm done, I'm going to come back out and I'm going to calm down and I'm going to sort
exactly.
out what I've got and I'm going to take my time. Maybe even like a imagine a Souls game with a quest log, like a diary. I met Dave at the Weeping Sands, and he said he had to go visit the Citadel of the Citadel of Stars. I must meet him there.
Yeah,
That's it. That's all you got to say. Just a note, just a small note. It doesn't have to
yeah.
say go to the quest marker. Don't put quest markers in.
Oh yeah, no.
Compass directions and a map that you fill out when you walk around it.
Yeah,
That's what I want.
I was gonna ask you, how do you like? Because it's the Souls community can be so silly sometimes. There's I've seen
Mm-hmm.
pretty intense debates over if there should be a map at all, and it's not even like there. I feel like there's like two camps, and there's for some reason no middle ground, and maybe there's more people, which is sort of where I'm at. Is like I would like some sort of reference where I can kind of look at to triangulate myself. I don't care if you put me on the map. It could just be like, like a fucking map. Like I open it up and take a look at it. Like a map in real life.
Hmm.
Like it's not like it's
And
the
you can see mountain there, city there,
yeah.
big tree, big golden tree right in the middle of the map.
Yeah.
Like, okay, big golden tree is there, sun is there, so
Yeah.
that's probably north. Like, I
Yeah.
don't even want to see an icon on the
Yeah.
map. I want the map to be a discrete item that you are not on. I want to be able to look at it and go, right, well, that's there, that's there, that's there. So I think
Yeah.
there, and I put that over there. So that must mean I'm down here, which means I need to go that way, and then getting it
Yeah.
massively wrong, which is funny in itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, a map that's like a physical object that gets filled out with pens.
Yeah, you can mark it up with some sort of like like a Breath of the Wild like thing where or like Hollow Knight where you can a little bit less Hollow Knight, but
Mm,
where you can sort of choose a little bit opt in like okay, I'm gonna mark this or this and just like let me treat it like an object because I don't think because it's gonna be different from Souls games and from what we've seen from the leaked trailer, they are putting some pretty good like waypoints in the world, like landmarks that make it easy to
mm.
sort of figure out where you are. But I would still don't think like it would take away from the mystery of the game. Like, some people say like they want a map with like fog of war or something on it. I don't want any artificiality in the map, if I'm being honest. Like I just want a map and maybe it can
Mm.
even be so blank. And then, like you said, like let me just mark little things like, oh, there's an enemy camp there. Let me use
A
a
piece
little
of paper.
yeah, just like how
Yeah.
I would use a map in real life. Like if I wasn't using my phone, like just like a person in the world would. Like it's not catering to casuals or whatever stupid thing people want to argue against it. It's just kind
Mm.
of how someone
It's
would
not an
explore a
Ubi
world.
map full of
Yeah.
yeah, it's not an Ubisoft map with towers and 1,000
Yeah.
objectives that are all the same thing
Yeah.
all around the little tower. It's just a map where you can see the world and I'm going to go over there.
Yeah.
Like just a plain paper map that is a physical item that you can access from, I don't know, your item bar or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. Like
Yeah.
that's fun. Oh, just imagine you're galloping on your horse and you pull the map out and you look at the map while you're going on the horse and you see that. Like that sounds really fun. And I
Exactly.
think open
Yeah.
world games need some sort of navigational tool. You have to have, if you don't have a map, then you have to have big glowing objective marker or something
Mm,
because, without a reference point, where do you start? Like,
yeah.
outside of drawing your own map on paper in your front room, no one's doing that. No one owns paper anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I think it needs something. If it's going to be as open world as I said, it needs something. Even Shadow of the Colossus has a map. It's very basic and
Yeah.
doesn't like reveal anything. It just kind of shows you next Colossus that
Yeah.
way. Like, cool, good enough. That's all I need. Like, give me very, very rough directions. Give me very, very rough
Yeah.
map. Even no directions. I don't even need directions. Give me a big rough map that I can just draw on every now and again.
Yeah.
With my dual sense controller, and I can draw a little X to say,
Oh,
"Don't go there."
yeah.
There's a troll.
That would
Go
be
there.
so much fun. There would be hilarious
Cartography in
jokes. Yeah. Yeah, I like that idea quite a
I, I,
bit.
would, I would really enjoy it. Yeah, I like. I really. This is something I never talk about. I really like when a map in a game is good.
Hmm.
Like when it makes sense and it's not just a flood of information that's all over. Again, I like the Shadow of
Hmm.
Colossus one a lot.
Yeah.
Like it just being able to see things without it being a flood. I love it when maps are like that.
Hmm.
I really enjoy the Mordor map of all things, Shadow of War map, which is like
Yeah.
this sort of ghostly hologram looking sort of topographical vision of the city, and it's got orc roughly over there, something to pick up over there, but it doesn't feel like it's flooded. Like
Mm.
it's visible and it's passable, and you can look at it and go, I'm going to go there and there and there and there. Sorted,
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah.
Like give me a good map that doesn't
Yeah.
flood me with information.
Yeah,
Like that'd be
actually,
cool.
Ghost of Tsushima didn't do a bad job with that. It was scant. They didn't try to overwhelm you with notices, and they would sort of pop up as you went, but it didn't feel overwhelming usually, which is surprising because in a lot of ways that game is chock full of like tiny mini quests, like an open world game, but they
Mm.
obscured it enough to not give you that sense of like feeling like you're doing like chores. You know, it like that, like,
Yeah.
oh, I got to do all these side quests. um yeah, and not to sell you again, because you haven't played Sekiro, but one interesting thing to mention is just like the Sekiro being like the non like boss intense encounters is so much fun, and
Mm.
kind of what you're talking about, where you're really creeping around, and that's partially because it's like Tenchu, like a stealth game, but like it's funny because in that game there feels like there's such like a, it's almost modal in nature, because the stealth in the world require you to be like a shinobi walking around, and then you get into a fight and you're a samurai, and they don't really let you act like a shinobi in boss fights. But like that gives
Mm.
me a bit of hope for what you're talking about too, where like Sekiro did have a bit more like open region design, just a little bit. It's not huge, but like you
Mm.
can go around like Ashina Castle, and there's not like one path. Like it's kind of like a part of a city, and you just got to get to choose your route, and that you
Mm.
want to like zip around to. But that's so much fun. But then, as you're saying, like you get to the boss fight and it gets very intense, and it's very high skill, and it's not giving you the option to cheese it really, because you don't have stats. But when you're talking about like not wanting that like feeling of rushing, I do think that they got into that, and the fact that they're bringing back the like Sekiro stealth mechanic, it seems, in Elden Ring, and maybe that's
Mm.
tied to RPG elements, makes me feel like the open world at the very least will feel very good, even if the bosses end up being more of like a Dark Souls 3 like
Standard.
challenge.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you'll still have much more moments where even if the bosses aren't the highlight, the world can still be a lot of fun. And that means you should go play Sekiro. So
One day.
it,
One
it,
day.
it's,
Okay, here's another thing then. Here's
yeah.
another thing for you. I'll give you something else then that's twigged my brain as we go. This is just going to turn into I talk about how much I really like Mordor, because I just really like Mordor. They're so much fun. They're like Assassin's Creed if they were actually fun. Um, I've just lost my train of thought now because I got all excited for a moment there. Okay, here we go. So with Elden Ring, assuming we have an open world, once again we're just spitballing features, which is just this means nothing. This means absolutely nothing. But open world with preferably, hopefully, like the Ashen Spear Throw, there's new traversal mechanics. We would hope. I would like them to be kept separate from your characters. So, you get the teleport, you get the stealth, you get like it's something anyone can do, or
Mhm.
maybe you start up and you kind of get new things. But I think having them tied to a specific sort of magic or a specific
Mm.
spell or a specific piece of equipment you've got makes it make more sense. So the reason why is, say, in Mordor, you play a ranger with a elven wraith also with you. So it
Mhm.
means anytime they want to do something fun, so like there's no fall damage because the elf kicks in as you land and you don't take fall damage.
Mm.
You've got a magical bow you can pull out any time because that's the elf's bit. If you want, you can shoot a guy and then you can spin straight over to him and then kill him like with a teleport arrow shot. You shoot him and you appear next to him
Mhm.
with dumb elf stuff. You can jump off of a ledge and then go into slow-mo and shoot stuff because of dumb elf magic. And it makes everything make sense
Yeah.
in a way that wouldn't feel as good. It's that Ludo narrative nonsense again, isn't it? Like it makes sense because like you've got this magic man who lives in you, which is why you can do all the dumb magic stuff. Like put that in, like, so you're a regular guy, you're a soldier, you're a warrior, you're whatever, but you've then got this extra little stat, this extra little let's call it Elden corruption. Why not? There you go. And that's the thing that your traversal or your stealth or this magical teleport we keep assuming is going to be in the game. We're willing it into existence. We're manifesting it. Teleporting will be in Elden Ring. You heard it here first, everybody.
Oh god. Yeah.
But that allows you to then do dumb stuff with the platforming and with the level design and with the world design that you can't do with just a regular human, because a regular human can only jump like 2 feet up in a Dark Souls game. If that, like, if you come to a small ledge, you ain't getting past that ledge. Like, good luck. Go around, idiot. Give us more vertical and make it make sense. And yes, a big, heavy armored knight shouldn't be able to jump 20 feet in the air, but like, if you're going to do that, give us something like the Sekiro prosthetic stuff with the whip thing. Like, that was cool. That made sense. Like, you could whip the thing and jump over to the thing. Like, oh, that's how you put traversal into a Souls. You make it based off of tools, make it based off of something extra that you have. Like, put that in.
Yeah.
If you've got a big open world with all these new verbs, give me all the verbs, but don't make them feel stupid.
Yeah.
And I don't think From would do that. I don't think they ever would do that. I think that everything's always made sense within a context. I don't think there's anything that's ever stuck out as being like, well, that's a bit of a crap mechanic. That doesn't make any sense. Apart from Frenzy. Frenzy can get in the toilet. Frenzy's the worst. Friends, why would they make it like that? It's so bad.
I know.
But I know this can't turn into Paddy yells about Frenzy for an hour.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's a good way. It's been a while since I played Shadow Mortar, but it does provide a pathway, and From are exactly the type of developer where if they want to do something, they're going to provide like a lore, an in-world reason why you can do it. Yeah. Something like you have an elf living inside you, which is always fun, and you know, and I don't have an elf living.
It turns out you were the Elden Ring the whole time.
But yeah, I'm on a similar wavelength where it would be. I don't want. I don't know. I've sort of struggled between the idea like Sekiro introduced like skill trees, and I don't exactly know how that goes into a bigger RPG without being more class based. But I sort of like what you're talking about, where it's more like a general skill tree where you can tap into those things that like anyone could do, and they provide like an explanation of why that makes sense, but it gives everyone extra verbs to work with so that the characters can do it. And if you're a big armored knight or an archer, you can all do this sort of thing. And maybe it ties into stats so that if you have like, you know, like I'm like I would hope everyone could do like a stealth kill, for instance. Like, you know, you do a crouch, you do some crouching, and if they don't notice you, you can do a special animation for like a backstab. And maybe that ties into a stat where like a thief would be better at it, but everyone has the opportunity if you want to try it. You know, your big clunky armor might kind of keep you from it, but it's like a mechanic where everyone can tap into it. And then you take that into, as we were saying, like, we really want to teleport. We really want some like Dishonored style, you know, like some Ashen teleporting around, but like stuff like that.
Poofed and be over there.
Yeah, sort of like Metroidvania mechanics, basically, where you have certain abilities. And I don't know if they'll show up in there, but it is that thing where it would be nice just to have more verbs. They need to add. Yeah, I don't want to say they need to add, because like I wouldn't be if this was like Dark Souls 4 with horses in an open world from a mechanical standpoint. It wouldn't be the end of the world. I would enjoy it, and having the stealth would be awesome. But I do think they're just at an opportunity where like the Souls combat has never been, it's not complicated. There's like a few buttons you press. Like, it's not like combo based or anything. Like, it's pretty limited. So just giving a new verb would do quite a bit, as we saw with Sekiro. Like, changing up things can have massive differences for how the game plays. And it would be nice, sort of as you're saying, to have like just new verbs that everyone has access to, so that you can sort of play around with them. And it just gives new challenges, not necessarily increased challenges.
Yeah, I mean, whenever From have explored a new space, they've always had a good go in it and tried to make it make sense. And I think, yeah, giving them, yeah, putting stealth or putting teleportation, we're going to keep coming back to that, aren't we? As a thing they can try. I don't think they wouldn't whiff it. Like they'd make it make sense and make reasonable sense and fit within the world and not feel broken and busted. I'm excited to see what they do with this open world idea, because with a larger world, you do open up the fact that you do need to have more verbs to do in it. If you just, again, the thought of doing a big open world where the only difference from Dark Souls is that you get on a horse every now and again, other than that, it's just Dark Souls. Like, that's okay, but that's not what I want to see next. That's not what I want to see an evolution. I want to see something different, and I want to see something that, the trailer does look a bit Dark Souls 3, but I want to see them do something different. But their games will generally, I mean, let's not generalize. They do have a look to them that you can tell.
Yeah.
But I want to see what they can do with the shackles taken off. I want to see what they do once they start broadening the scope. And, you know, again, all of what we said, none of this might be in the game. Everything we've said might be absolute nonsense.
Oh, yeah.
Because, again, like we alluded to at the start, I haven't really been keeping up with it. I just watched the trailer that popped a few days ago a few times, but that's been about it. I've not really been keeping up with the Reddit going crazy designing their own bosses. My god, are you okay? Like I don't follow it, but like playing other games since that, I'm thinking, well, that would be a cool thing to put in Souls. That would, the Nemesis system,
oh man,
my god. But that's not going to happen because of Warner Brothers patenting it. But like, if they could make that work in the context of a Souls game, how fun that could be. You could just, then you're going around it like, oh, it's you. Like a Black Knight just appearing, like, oh my god, it's that one that I've already. Oh no, he's back. Oh, and he's bigger. Oh, and he's got a bigger sword. Oh, I know who that is. I'm dead.
Yeah.
I think it would be a bit more of a serious take on it if they did it, because I think a lot of what makes the Nemesis system work in Mordor is that it's really funny. Like, genuinely, I have laughed my head off playing Shadow of War this week. Like, every time I meet a new orc, like, I don't want to kill them because they're all funny.
Yeah.
And they've all got their own little quirks. And sometimes if you kill them and they come back, like there's one that keeps coming back whose head I cut off. And then he came back as like Ugg the Stitched. Yeah. And he's like, you cut my head off, but it didn't stick. Now I'll take your head. And I cut his head off again. And then he turned up again an hour later, like, will you just die? Will you die already? But it's comedy and it's really, really funny when they all kind of play off each other.
Yeah.
I think for that to make sense in any other game, I think the humor has to be there. It has to be funny.
Yeah.
Unless you change how that system works and makes it a bit more about the dread than the comedy factor. Because I think, you know, that again, the Nemesis, it's scary, but most of the time it's like, look at this idiot. Look what this dumbass is about. Oh, he's a Caragor tamer who's scared of them and he runs away whenever he sees one. That's adorable. Let's keep him. Let's add him to the Pokemon team. Let's get the Pokeballs. Let's keep him. I think for From to do that in a Souls game, the enemies would have to be personality. I think is what sells it. They'd have to have personality. They'd have to be different and unique, and you'd have to know who it was when you saw them. I think a standard, just for example, Invader that turned up, and it's like, oh him again. It's fine, and I'm dead again. But like, there's not that personality there. You need that comedy, I think, to make that work, because Souls games are very funny when they want to be. They are very, very funny.
It's
I don't know. My point got lost there. I just really like Mordor.
I think something we're circling around though in general is like the Souls games, like, huge fan of them, but there is this push, and I think I feel it in the greater community that there is like, and I think it's not the fault of the leak because the trailer was never supposed to appear. Like, this whole thing could be totally different from the final product, but people want to see new things. And I think From is more than capable of providing those, but Souls in an open world would be fine, but we really want to see, like, there's so many opportunities. And I think the Souls games have been really popular for over a decade now. And you start to see what other people are doing in similar spaces. And you just sort of, it's not like From Software 100% have the best ideas of Souls-likes. I still think they do the best Souls games, obviously, because they're the people who make them. And I think they're still unmatched in like what they do. But there's games like Death's Gambit where they messed with the the feather system, the Estus system, where you could tweak your strength based off of sacrificing stuff, and the different feathers were like essentially like different Estus flasks, and they had like knock-on effects. There's just people doing interesting stuff in these spaces, and we haven't seen, besides Sekiro, which is an action game, we haven't seen an RPG version of real meaningful change since Demon Souls to Dark Souls. And Omnipotent has mentioned that he believes this will be a similar shift, like that Elden Ring will be like the Dark Souls, and like it's Dark Souls is now Demon Souls in this scenario, and Elden Ring is like the next Dark Souls, where it mixes up things and it provides a similar core but a lot of different new ideas. And the open world opens up, as we've been talking about. All of a sudden there's so many more games to reference, because open world games are like a dime a dozen. Like there's tons of them, and there's some that have good ideas, and it's going to be so interesting to see what From can add to a genre that is so developed at this point. There's been so many games, like as we were mentioning, like Shadow of War, even Ashen is like a Souls-like. They all are bringing these things, and I think everyone is just dying to see what From brings to the table for open world. And unfortunately, and it's no fault of their own, this leaked trailer looks just like Dark Souls. and as I mentioned, I think context is incredibly important, but I think there will be some disappointment if mechanically they don't explore new avenues. And I think they will, because they're very smart and they're aware that like an open world game, Miyazaki has even said an open world game is going to demand new systems. We just want to know what the fuck those systems are. Like it's been
tell me about the mechanics, please. I want to know let me know how I can do the things I want to do.
Yeah, because
I think that leads into what I want to see next from Flop. I'd like to see this trailer in its entirety, or like the real trailer when it comes out. And when that's done, within a couple of weeks, not necessarily straight away, in a couple of weeks, I want to see like a 10-minute gameplay dive. I want to see, and I don't want to see. Here's what I don't want to see. It might be controversial. I don't want to see a YouTube person do it. I want to see From do it. I want to see them. I don't want all the content creators to get it first, because I really hated that about Dark Souls 3. Like it ended up in the hands of all the streamers. It's like, oh, cool. So half of it's out on the internet already. Brilliant. Yeah. And they don't have to wait for embargoes. They can just start playing. Yeah. Ugh, brilliant. I want to see it in the hands of them. I want to see them demonstrate it in the similar way to, like you see on the deep dives that Sony have done last 3 seasons, where they take 10 minutes to show you a game, or the Nintendo Directs to another extent. They take, here's 25 minutes, we're going to show you some stuff. And I don't want to see 25 minutes. I want to see 10. Show me the flavor, show me how things work, show me a few things that are new, then give me a little quick thing at the end of, whoa, look at the size of the thing, and look at all that, and look at that over there, look at that weird thing you can go and look at, but you can't go yet because it's only a trailer. That's what I want to see. I want to see how the multiplayer, which of course is going to be in that, I want to see how that factors in. I want to see, can you bring friends? Do you get invaded? I want to see what just traversing the open world looks like. I want to see, I can already intimate in my head what the dungeon areas look like, because I've played the Dark Souls game, but I want to see what the new stuff is. I want to see them stretch their wings and show off like why this exists, why this needs to be a thing, why we're not just ticking boxes and making another hard game with swords. Why is this hard game with swords different and unique and weird? And I don't think I'm going to be disappointed. I am genuinely more excited for this one than I've been for a Souls thing in a while. Even though I don't appear to have been, because I haven't looked up anything about it. I had a baby. Come on.
Exactly.
I can't keep all these facts in my head. I can either learn how to change nappies or learn about Elden Ring, and one of those comes up every day. Well, for you, one of those comes up every day as well, doesn't it? So.
For me, both of them come up every day, but but that speaks more to my own personal brokenness than necessarily how one probably should live their life. But yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, like I totally agree. Like this game, more than any other game, needs a slice of life, a vertical slice, 5-10 minutes unbroken. Like you're saying, like a state of play thing where there's someone who has bullet points and they're saying, this is what we do, this is what you can do, and you can do this, and just have a density of information to just basically pitch it to people. Because especially now, unfortunately, and you know, the Dark Souls 4 comments that I've seen regarding this leak is like 10% of the comments, which is a lot because a lot of people are commenting on these trailers, and they already have a bit more of an uphill battle. And from what Omnipotent said, is that was something From was already keenly aware of. They don't want Elden Ring to feel like Dark Souls 4, not because that would be a bad thing to them, but because
Mm.
they want it to have its own unique identity. They want to do something new, is sort of what I'm reading between the lines. They want it to be different because they want to
Yeah.
do something different. And they just, they've been quiet for a long time. And I understand because it's like COVID and stuff messed up everything in the whole world, not just the video games we play, which, you know, are
Oh, yeah.
but like, and so like people, and I know Japan, their work from home situation is extremely difficult. It's just not the culture, and they're not set up for it. So it's like, take your time. I want to know when it's coming out, but I don't care if that's 20 or
Mhm.
21, 2022. I'd love it this year. I don't think it'll be this year. I'm starting to slip back. I had
Mm.
some optimism for a while, but unless we see something in the next 4 weeks, it's going to be a 2022 game. I'm pretty positive. And the other thing they could do, just to finish up my point, is like a network test. Like they do network tests for these games, and it's been ages since we had an online. Like Dark Souls 3, I saw a thing. It came out 5 years
Yeah.
ago. Like
Time.
that's a long time ago at this point. Like
Oh,
especially for From,
uh,
who pump out
yeah.
games like they used to pump out. Remember when From made games? And they like
Yeah, like every year, like a new one. Like, oh,
yeah,
another one. Oh,
yeah,
another one.
and they came out like that amazing stretch where you had Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, and Dark Souls 2 again, and then Dark Souls 3. It
Yeah.
was just like it was a magical time that like just I think that's why Elden Ring is there's such a frenzy around it. People still aren't used to this version of From where I think they now have the resources and the pull to sort of say, no, we're going to spend time on our games now, which makes me excited and very curious just because, like, the more you dig into any of the Souls games, like, it's amazing Dark Souls 2 came out. It's amazing Dark Souls 3 came out because they both were, like,
Mm.
quick turnarounds, like 3 years. It just, like, 3 or 4 years. It's just crazy that like they were working on 2 and 3 for they overlapped each other. Like that's just wild to me that they were like developing 2 and 3 partially at the same time. Like so
Yeah.
I prefer this. Like I hope that they're really that like my hope generally with these games is that it's like a passion project. And then like even if they produce something that I'm not as interested in, like like Sekiro, I didn't jive with the themes as much, and I like the more of the fantasy stuff. That's just my preference. But like, I'm glad that they got
Mm.
to do it because it was something different, and I think they needed to get that out of their system. And you know, I think that there's like a group, like you can see with Bloodborne, they were pushing. There's a group, and there's a director Hamatani who I think is going to be sort of the action game thing. But like, then you have Tanamura who got hired by From Software during Kingsfield and decided to become a games designer because he loved Kingsfield. And so he's obviously into crunchy fantasy RPGs. And I think it's very clear from Dark Souls 2 that he draws inspiration from those older titles because I don't know if you played Kingsfield, but it's slow as hell. Like it's very slow.
I've seen it. Yeah, it looks horrible.
It's extreme as far as like the slowness of combat, but like it's that thing. It's like he's so much into those RPG things that I'm very excited to see like what they can bring to the table when they're leaning even harder into an RPG and just they have so much on their plate. I'm so curious, but I think with this, I think I hyped myself up enough. We got to watch that trailer now. We hyped ourselves up for this amazing teleportation game, and I'm about to show you some upscaled
Wow.
720p.
I'm looking forward to see the 720p potato teleporting. That's what I'm excited to see right now.
I just can't believe it's upscaled to 720p. I tried. I had some smart upscaling, but like those original videos are like I think they're 144. It's absolutely like what
Ooh.
what phone was that recorded on? Just ridiculous.
Who did that? Who records? What were they using? Were they using a kid's watch phone?
Yeah, like one of those
Did they
little
use their Game
toy.
Boy camera?
Yeah, exactly. Like they pulled out their Nokia from 2005. It's just,
They've drawn it in Mario Paint frame by frame.
yeah, it's, oh my god, yeah, yeah. So with all the hype we put on, it's time to watch Elden Ring.
Let's do it.
All right, Stamello. I mean, I do think the idea of a dragon dropping out of the sky when you're just riding your horse around is pretty cool.
Or seeing these two giants just like in this is like, what's their deal?
Just totally shitting yourself, like.
And why are they walking this way?
Yeah.
I love that guy's coat.
It looks really bright and fancy.
It's the details on the shoulders. You know, I like a good coat or a good cloak, and that really spoke to me.
I think this game is going to have way more drip than the Souls games. Just my speculation.
Give me some fashion. I don't care about stats. Make me look cool as hell.
Yeah, you see that big ass mage hat? Like that's like D&D mage there. That's not. Like...
Yeah.
Such an awkward transition, but it's an internal trailer, baby.
And now the game.
And now some B-roll.
Like this. I want to see 10 minutes of this. I want to see 10 minutes of this. Look at this door animation.
Yep. Oh, that jump. I'm
there it is.
excited.
Lost Bastille, baby.
This looks really wild to me. This like I didn't believe it was until I got confirmation that this is in fact Elden Ring. But I didn't believe it. I was like, this is like Sekiro. So like take the Dark Souls medievalness, but it's an open world. Now they're gonna add in like a whole like Asian Eastern flair. Like that's awesome. Like just the variety. I dig that.
That's so cool with the moon and the reflection. And I really hope I get to wear that coat.
Did you see the color of that moon? Like the odds of you not getting like a moonlight greatsword from that, like that moon isn't. It's blue. That moon is like that weird sort of like teal.
That
color.
is a very specific teal. Very, very, very specific, very, very resonant color of teal. Like, okay.
Yeah, like I wonder if I'll be curious to see if that boss is like, because who knows with Elden Ring, because it's not following any of the rules, and it's different enough where it doesn't always make sense for it to follow what we've seen. But typically From likes to show limited areas, and they'll show like an early game boss and then like a mid-game, kind of late game boss, but just like one. Like I wonder if that was a boss that they ever intended, or if Miyazaki or the From team is just like, oh, now everyone knows that we've already spoiled the Moonlight Greatsword reference. Because that is a very, like you said, like that's like nobody who's played these games did not see that like specific blue and be like, oh, it's a moon. Like it's written right there. It's almost like they literally wrote Moonlight Greatsword. Like there's no way.
It's like, oh, it's happening.
Yeah.
But he's holding a samurai sword though. That's not the moonlight. What's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Oh, there's excitement.
Yeah, exactly.
How are they gonna get there? How's it gonna happen this time? Is it gonna happen like the Ludwig version? Oh, it's very cool. Yeah. Very cool. Like, give me something cool with the Moonlight Greatsword. I love a Moonlight Greatsword, except like the Demon Souls one where it's in some slugs.
Yeah, like, yeah. So, yeah, watching all that, like, I have so much hope for it still, and I think I just want them to release the official trailer. Like,
if that trailer is indicative of what it will look like and what it will feel to look at and explore and thing, I think that's a really good thing. I think that's a really good touchstone to hit on. Obviously, if official trailer comes out and looks completely different, then we're all just, we'll all take our clown makeup back off. But I think, if they can hit that tone and that feel, particularly that little bit in the middle with the gameplay, with the little jump and the torch bit and the walking on the rafters, like that's the bit that I look at and go, ooh. That's the thing I like. Ooh, I like the little jumpies. Again, just riding a horse across a big open plain with a big massive head, like just sitting in the middle of it. Like, what's the deal with the head?
Yeah.
Like,
What
There's
if
a big
what if,
head there. There's a massive skull there. What's the deal with the skull?
yeah, what if that head takes you into a dungeon?
But that head is the dungeon.
Exactly. It's a big head. Like that guy is very tiny near the neck. Like very tiny. That's
And
that
it's called,
yeah.
yeah, it would be called like the Skull of Gore. That would be the level, the Skull of Gore.
You get the title card and everything. Yeah, it's I see a lot of potential. Like I can see the thing where people are like, it looks more like Dark Souls, but I think the context is just so important. Like I keep hammering it, probably too much, but like those big giant things, which I think is a wicked awesome design, but like just wandering around the world and you just crest a hill and shit that's there. And what we've heard, sort of to your point, is like not a nemesis system, but supposedly Omnipotent has said that there's some enemies that will pursue you, like and he likened it to like ring wraiths, and that's
Oh,
so that
so that's what I'm into. Oh, I like that.
that's not comedy as much as pure fear, but you know, it's like could you imagine you're just riding a world and then you hear some screech in the background and you're like, oh shit, it's time to book it.
A dragon appears in front of you and a horrific thing jumps off like, not you! Oh, I was going so well, please no!
Yeah.
Run away now!
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I'm up for that, 100%. But yeah, I think this... that little 2 minutes worth of potato, I think, is a very hopeful potato. I think after all this wait, I'm glad that it's happened.
Yeah.
How official it is, who knows? Is
Yeah.
it supposed to be out in the wild? Who knows? Was it leaked on purpose? Who knows?
Yeah.
But I'm glad it's real, and I'm glad that there's something's happening. I'm glad that it's
Yeah.
a game, and it
Yeah.
looks like it. Because do you know what I was going to do when you first asked me to come on here? Because that trailer did not exist when is I was going to come up with a song about how Elden Ring wasn't real, and then that came out like the day after I had that idea. I was like, well, that's me in the toilet. I'll just put my clown makeup back on, and then I'll sit here with my wig, with my large shoes, feeling like a fool. So unfortunately, you missed out on a song about how Elden Ring isn't real.
It's okay.
I never got a chance to write it, but I was really going to try.
Well, this Elden Ring has made anyone trying to do anything with it into a clown, because I tried making I made a website for Elden Ring lore to do something like the Lore Hunter that I did for Bloodborne, where I collect, like, it's like a nexus for lore to like find what everyone's saying. And I made that right before TGA 2019 so that I could get it set up and running. And I've been paying hosting on that. It's 2021 now. So like
How much lore you got up there?
Oh yeah,
three lore total.
Yeah, it's like I have like, I haven't even written on it in over a year because there's been nothing to show, and now there is, but it's like I'm just waiting. But it's Elden Ring has turned the community into clowns in more ways than one. But yeah, and that's so
everyone's gotten too weird with it this time. Everyone got weird. Like people get weird with Bloodborne and asking Maria to step on them. Stop being weird.
Yeah, it's, I'm sure.
I'm not gonna. No, let's not kink shame. Let's not yuck anyone's yums. But come on, guys, please let me look at the Bloodborne hashtag on Twitter and not see someone stepping on someone. Please.
There's a lot of thirst.
Not weird about this one.
Bloodborne is the thirstiest. Well, no, I shouldn't say that, because Bloodborne's a pretty thirsty game, but Sekiro, there's some real thirst for the characters in Sekiro as well. So I'm not sure which one's thirstier.
Is it because I'm an old man? Is it because I'm an old man dad now? I might look at it like, ugh. Whereas like 21-year-old people be like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I click on that hashtag a bit more often. That's a pretty good hashtag. This is I've played this bunch, playing this game. This seems like a very good game. Yeah. Oh, I click this game. Nowadays I'm like, oh, just enough. Yeah. Could we not just enjoy the game?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to yuck anyone's yums there, please. I'm sorry. Don't come at me, fan artists. You do very good work, but just let me look at the actual news.
Yeah, but so that has been day 638. It's been 638 days since they first announced Elden Ring, and there's still not technically more information. The only reason we got this is because some brave, stupid soul at Bamco, I'm assuming, just, I don't know what they did. They got bored. I have no clue. They're working from home. They decided, It's a spicy
Do you think they were
Friday.
browsing the Elden Ring subreddit and they're like, we have to give them something?
Yeah, there's someone who's just
We
like,
have to give more people. There's been a pandemic. Look at them all. Look at how crazy they are. They're designing bosses by themselves. We have to give them something.
yeah, just a little something, and yeah. But I'm still Team April. I think in the next 4 weeks we have a chance of seeing something, and I'll put on my clown makeup because I've been. Let's be real. I've watched this trailer or a trailer every day since it came out, so I'm King Clown because I've watched a trailer for like hours and days of my life, and it's for a game we know nothing about. So we'll see. But yeah, so thank you so much for coming on and just chatting about a game we know nothing about for nigh on 2 hours. So that says, I think that
And a
says
game that I've done nothing to educate myself about it either before we started. I just thought, what games do I like that I want to see features from in a From game? And that's my whole aim this whole time. I'm glad it's spiraled. I've gone, Mordor's good in it, and then we moved on, and that was my whole comment. So,
well, it's like I think that this is the first chance. Like Sekiro is, as much as I enjoy it, is not an action RPG. It's not a Dark Souls game. Like for better or for worse, like this is Dark Souls now, and Dark Souls is just special. And it's like even Bloodborne, which is probably my favorite game ever. Like there's still something special about that, from doing a fantasy action RPG that just gets people very deeply invested and opinionated. So,
Shields and Dragons. Got a Shield and Dragon in it. I'm on.
And so where can people find you on the internet?
Oh God, I haven't done this on anywhere before now. This is a first. Okay, so if you want to listen to me talk more about Mordor for the next week, because that's probably all I'm going to do for a while, you can find me on Twitter, which is at Paddy Stardust. Don't bad idea. Don't follow me. It's terrible. If you want to watch me do something that that lovely Sean here kind of sort of inspired me to start myself. The Blood Level 4 run of Bloodborne. I'm currently running through Bloodborne at Blood Level 4. I'm working on the Chalice dungeons. As of time of recording, I beat the Bloodletting Beast at level 4 in the Chalices. It was horrible. It was a horrible time. I had a very, very bad day today. Thank you for that. I was not okay for a while. You can find that on YouTube. There is not a good link yet because it's a fairly newish channel. Still, I haven't got enough subscribers to get a nice link. So if you go on YouTube and search Paddy Does a One Bro is the name of the series. I've got the entire Bloodborne series up on that channel. And also on the same channel, there are playlist links to the original other series I've done, which I have run through Dark Souls 1, which starts from Anor Londo. It's a long story. Dark Souls 2. And Demon Souls, all level 1 runs that are all a lot of fun. And I've got some other stuff planned coming up soon as well. But that's primarily what I'm doing is I'm putting myself through the BL4 plus DLC plus Chalice. Hell. And I've never done the Chalices before. This is a first time run. It's going kinda. It's going kinda.
It's a very good series. I have to say, like, I enjoy the gameplay, but it's really the talking back and forth between you and Laura, and especially her just making fun of the games constantly and just saying, "Oh, this is shitty." It's a lot of fun as someone who
she hates it. She's not there anymore. I put her through so many hours. I put her through Fume Night at level 1. I put her through that.
It's a lot of fun to watch, and I really recommend it to anyone. I'll link it in the description so people can find it. And just as not to throw you on the spot, do you think because you used to do the Twin Humanities stuff, and so this will be Elden Ring is potentially the first. I mean, you didn't do stuff for Sekiro, but this would be the first like Souls game in a long time where you don't necessarily have like a setup to just chat about it. Do you think you'll be doing any content for any releases, or are you just sticking to your One Bro stuff and your other stuff you have planned, or do you think you could potentially get the spark to do Elden Ring shit?
If you can do it at level 1, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh God, no. What have you just done?
There we go. Paddy's blind playthrough.
So much trouble.
Soul level 1.
You just got me in so much friggin' trouble. You know that because you think, could I? And that's what my head thought. I didn't think what a bad idea. My head just went, oh yeah, that's probably a thing I could do, isn't it? Damn you, man.
Yeah,
Damn you.
blind playthrough Soul Level 1 Elden Ring. You've heard it here first.
I hate myself. I clearly hate myself because I legitimately considered it. I'm not even good at these games. I'm not as good as people think that I am because I'm persistent and I don't like to give up. It takes me many, many, many attempts to get through these games. I am not that good at them. It's persistence and it's doggedness and it's a refusal to stop. It's not skill.
Well, it's, it's an important